This is a waste of money.
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast to the protection against heavy rain and flooding by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
So the big challenge is, how can house owners like you and me get a flood-free home? How can business managers like you and me get a flood-free company? And how can public servants provide flood-free critical infrastructure and livable cities?
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe. This podcast is for foresighted and proactive people who do not want to shovel the muddy water out of their room while standing in the midst of the disaster.
Therefore, those who design and plan, the architects and engineers, need to construct such buildings and cities, and that even when the entire environment is completely flooded. That is a challenge, and this podcast will give the answers.
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
Yeah, hello and welcome for another episode of Flood Protection Secrets. This is a waste of money was my title and is my title, and the subtitle is, why shall I spend money for an inspection? You know, imagine, I don't know whether you were flooded already in the past or not, but people who have been flooded have lost their property or at least parts of it. If you calculate the amount of loss, sometimes you can build a new house. And buying flood barriers is a logical decision. But why should you spend money on an inspection? That is what customers ask us almost every week. And today I want to give you some answers to the question, inspection, yes or no. Yeah, some say it's a waste of money, others say it's not. What is right? What's wrong? Is it mandatory for a homeowner, a business manager, or public servant serving the government? You know, the question is always, isn't it better to get a quotation for the flood barriers first? That is the first thing what comes in the mind of the people. Of course, yes, if you already know exactly what you want to order with specifications and terms of references, then that is exactly what will be established during the technical inspection. These specifications and the terms of references. And if you know all these things already, wonderful. But imagine this one. You want to build a private house. And do you go to your architect and you tell him, look, please come along, bring your camera and I show you my lot. It's 20 meters wide and 50 meters or 100 meters long, or the other way around. Please take some photos and then tell me how much. Do you think you will get a serious information? Certainly not. The only thing what the architect will tell you, look, I don't know what kind of type of house you want to build. How many floors? Is there an underground, a basement? How about the parking? How about the garden? A swimming pool, yes or no? A barbecue corner, yes or no? Side entrance, yes or no? What kind of material do you have? And what about the soil? How about the groundwater table? And so on and so forth. And what do you do? You must pay your architect first before you get the detailed plans that you can start purchasing the material. And you certainly will not start by purchasing the windows and your sofa before the contractor has not started to build at least the foundation of the building. So, do you spend your money for nothing? Of course not. Because if you start signing a contract with a contractor, he will be very happy. He will get all your money and then tell you every day what you forgot and what he needs to add. And at the end, you pay twice or three times or even more. And that takes terribly long. So there's a terrible delay. And for flood protection, it's the same. Flood protection is not a supply. Flood protection is not you go to the hardware store and purchase a table or a chair or a barbecue or some tiles for the bathroom. Flood protection is an architectural art and an engineering task. Because you need to fulfill the requirements of the building code. If not, the things might collapse, like what happened in the Caribbean Sea in, I think, Santo Domingo, when the roof of this discotheque collapsed, and I think more than 130 people and killed 130 people, or even more. I think even more. So what is the reason? The reason is, I'm quite sure about that, poor quality. Definitely poor quality, and that happens again and again in the world. And that is always poor quality. And the quality is not that only the material is poor. The execution was poor. The design perhaps was perfect, but the execution by the contractor or the people involved was very bad and very poor. Would you allow the people to install flood barriers at your private house, at your company, for your hospital? And then put your grandmother in the same hospital behind the flood barriers, or let your child, your 2-year-old child, play behind the flood barriers in your private house in the living room? Or would you have your office in the first floor of your factory or the hotel with the flood barriers in front of the door? If you would not be 100% satisfied and convinced that these barriers would do the job, I think the answer is clear. You would not do so. So, that brings me to the next question. Don't I spend the money for nothing? Not at all. You know already that you will need flood protection, but you do not know exactly which one and how to install it. So isn't it better to invest first in the planning? That was my example with the architect. And then in the procurement. We get many inquiries from procurement departments who do not know at all what they want. And at the end, they get a piece of paper with a price they do not understand. And the result is no action and no flood protection and huge delays of months and years. In the meantime, you are not protected for the next heavy rain and flooding. And so on and so forth. So these are the things. And if you plan the construction of a new building or the extension of a building, you would ask a professional architect and an engineering firm, right? Would you do it yourself or rely on someone who has just graduated or has no experience? Remember, would you put your family or yourself behind these barriers if you would not be sure? Or you rely on somebody who is doing a cheap design for you and saying, oh, no problem, give me a little bit money and I will do that for you. We developed flood barriers since 35 years. My friend and German partner from the AS Stepanek KG has invented these demountable flood barriers and all the other types of barriers. I call them the top 14 flood barriers. Way back in 1990, and since then there was a lot of improvement. And that is the difference when it comes to a serious development of such a project and a cheap, okay, I come along and make some photos offer from these companies. Yeah, a flood protection system is nothing else than a piece of a building and that has a structure, and you need a professional to design, plan and procure and build it. And if you do this with architects and engineers who have never done a project like this in their lives, please don't be surprised at the outcome. And that might be surprise number one. The schedule comes with months of or years of delays due to wrong decisions. Surprise number two, poor quality of the flood barriers. They were so cheap. Yes. Surprise three, destruction of your barriers by floating debris or waves caused by passing cars. You know what a truck, a van, a bus can create, what kind of waves? 0.5 meter of water in the street is enough, and they create waves. They destroy all the windows of the shops along the street, and these waves are making are changing, transforming the parked cars into boats, and these boats are swimming, and these cars are hitting and bumping against the walls and the shops and the entrance and everything. And your barriers shall withstand it, and that is investigated in such an inspection. So it's not just making some photos. I'm always laughing about that. Surprise 4. Very likely major leaks that could flood your entire building and grounds would appear because of these weaknesses. And surprise 5, your entire investment would be for nothing, and you would also have the damage caused by flooding. So what do these surprises mean for you? Delay of installation and high risk of being flooded in the meantime without protection. Second, wasted investment. Third, high risk of being flooded before the next flood comes. And the risk for you, all involved engineers and architects, and for the owner of the property can have severe consequences. Now, you have to deal with additional costs for cleaning up after a flood, repairing the damage, replacement investments, and ultimately correcting your wrong decisions with the planning and installation of high-quality flood protection. We always tell to the companies when we talk to the procurements or the engineering departments, what will the owner of the property think about all the people involved who were responsible for the failure of the flood protection solution? And those caused him devastating financial losses. It is your decision. If you want to gamble, go to a casino. When it comes to flood protection, play it safe. And that is why we encourage the customers to anticipate to do the RS technical inspection prior to the order of flood barriers, because at this moment the solution is not clear. There is no design, and without design you cannot buy anything because you're not sure about it. And don't think that during the design stage things can be corrected. Very often when you sign a cheap contract, the prices are jumping and increasing dramatically during the project. That is how these companies make the money, and they use your money for that. They are very thankful to have customers like you who will sign without thinking and without discussing the inspection. We use this inspection that the people have no delays, that the customers have no extra costs, and that the customers will take benefit of an early installation before the next flood comes. So nothing is worse than flood barriers that are not well installed and are not functional when you need them most in case of heavy rain and flooding all around the years. So what will you get? Because quite often the customers say, it's a waste of money, just come along, make some photos, take the dimensions. Oh no, it's not like that. You will get 4 outcomes. Outcome A is you will know everything about the right flood barrier system. I do not recommend one flood barrier system because I normally discuss the top 14 flood barrier systems of the world. These could be portable flood barriers, it could be doors and gates and automatic systems and glass systems. You will know the most suitable flood barriers type among the top 14 flood barriers with up to 3 options. You will get the knowledge about the right anchoring system to suit your building property, and the knowledge about the best storage system or operation system, depending whether it is a portable system like the demountable flood barriers or doors and gates or automatic systems. That is about the technology, outcome A. Outcome B is all about the preliminary civil works. There's always civil works. You need to know everything about your foundation, the thickness, the quality, hidden obstacles like water pipes, or in the wall the same thing, the thickness, the quality, hidden water pipes, hidden electric cables, hinges, or whatever, downspouts sometimes, slopes, and damaged concrete and so on. There is always a civil work that comes with the flood barriers. It is a lie that you simply attach it and you can do that on your own. Do you know how to attach the silicone in a way that the sealing system is still flexible and will not leak? If you don't know how to do, you will get leaks, definitely. Yeah. So that is outcome B. all about the civil works. Outcome C is all about the design of the flood barrier system, the design sketch, the correct shape of the flood barrier, such as I shape, L shape, U shape, O shape, zigzag shape, or other for each entrance and location. The knowledge about all the side channels, what kind of side channels you have, recessed surface, negative side channels, modified side channels, perhaps the side channels that need to be attached to glass walls, what we have done in Singapore as an example. Yeah, and then you know how to compare the design sketch, the shop drawings, with the existing as built plan or the existing situation, if there is no such plan. And outcome D, it's all about the investment for the flood barrier system. Now you get the budget prices for the different solutions, and that includes everything what I've said before. Now you know how much the value is and what you need to do. And that is a discussion with the customer. We don't only exchange paper, because when you build a house, a private house, that is a good example. That's why I stay with it. You continuously discuss with your architect. Continuously. You don't tell him, come along, make a photo and measure the location of my, the dimension of my lot, and then tell me how much. The architect will most probably look to you like looking to an alien, and he will say, my dear friend, what do we expect? I can build you a house for $20,000 and for $10 million. Is there a basement? Is there how high are the walls? How many floors you have? You want an elevator or not? You want marble or not? You want wooden tiles or no wooden tiles? Plastic tiles. Plastic. That's the idea. Quite often, some customers tell us, we have seen these red barriers and that looks good. They are not that expensive. Then I say, are you kidding? These barriers are made by plastic. You want to put your safety, the safety of your family, of your employees, of your inventory, of your citizens when you are a governmental servant, to a plastic solution. For me, that is a toy. And if you have seen the waves created by a driving car, destroying everything, what is standing next to it, these vertical barriers with this red color are the first being washed away with the water, and you get totally flooded. We had a customer in Qatar who replaced these barriers with our Inero mobile flood barriers with a blue membrane, and the barriers are made by aluminum or by stainless steel. And they are very easy to handle and to install. But why are they declined? They are declined to reduce the impact of the floating debris and the waves. That is a kinetic energy. That means if there is such a wave, the wave will not destroy the flood barriers. They withstand. We made tests with that. And that is a big difference. Not only the only one, but many more about that. If you are in the Middle East, you can watch more than 1.2 kilometers in front of the Qatar National Convention Center that have been installed. Doha Education City is a world richest NGO and is headed by Qatar Foundation and with its chairwoman, Her Highness Sheikha Moza, the mother of the Emir of Qatar. So there's a reason why the people of Qatar Foundation have trust in such a technology and do not they replace, by the way, the barriers. Okay, these are the outcomes you will get. Outcome A, the right flood barrier system technology list. Outcome B, all about the civil works, the punch list. Outcome C, the design of the barrier systems, the design sketch. Outcome D, all about the investment with different prices. That's the budget price. And that answers the question, is it a waste of money? And how do you get such an inspection? Very easy, 3 steps. Step 1, contact the flood experts, that is us, and set up a date. Step 2, organize the site visit at your place. Then we inspect any opening and we identify the weaknesses. And everything what I explained until now is identifying weaknesses and taking decisions out of it. And that delivers step 3, the outcomes. You will get a technology list, you will get a punch list, you will get a design sketch, and you will get a budget price. And doing a technical inspection with specialists means finding something that needs correction, and that is what we do. We don't come along and just make some photos. some people in some countries, they ask us, do you have a local representative? I said, yes, we have a local representative, and but he can help us organizing the things. But these local representatives very often are nothing else than real estate brokers in a way. They do not know, they don't have the knowledge about that. That is the difference between a junior architect and a senior architect. And sometimes these guys are even not an architect or an engineer. They're just salespeople. So what do we expect from salespeople? They will sell you everything. That is why you need the specialist to do so. And that is what you will definitely do for the building of your house. And not to forget, sometimes there's even a refund. So you have to ask for that, and that's the thing. One question perhaps, isn't it better to get a quotation for the flood barriers first? The customers ask me always. Yeah, if you already know exactly what you want, then you can order the flood barriers, but in that is 0.1%. Most of the time, nothing is clear. That includes all the civil works and the way how the barriers are designed. What kind of span lengths you have. It depends on the kinetic energy you might expect, etc. And one more thing that makes me laugh all the time is when customers say, oh, we do an hydrological study first. And then I'm laughing out loud and tell them, look, what do you expect from this hydrological study, my friend? Or dear customer. And he said, oh, they will tell me exactly about the flooding. I said, what will you get exactly? You will get the weather data from 30 years before or even longer. All this data is good for nothing because it was a data from the previous years. In the time of climate change, every situation is getting worse and more unexpected. That means everything what was true yesterday is not true today anymore. And these guys will not tell you anything about the solutions. They will only tell you, you have a risk of being flooded. And when you ask how high, they start a computer program and they let appear some colors. And perhaps you are in the orange section and they will tell you, that is perhaps up to the knees. What does it mean up to the knees? It was flooded up to the knees before. That might be. Then we always recommend at least 50% or 100% to be sure for the next time, because times are getting harder and you can expect more intense heavy rain and more and frequent heavy rain. And that results that comes from the typhoons, hurricanes, or cyclones. It's the same, depending on the region where you live on this globe, and because there is more thermic energy in the oceans. The average temperature has increased by at least 1.9 degrees, and that creates more storms, more water evaporates, more water is in the sky, you have more clouds, and that results in more rain. And if the wind is lower, what is a result of the reduced jet streams, our wind system, you will have more rain above your lot, above your building. And this rain, these clouds will stay. And suddenly, instead of 30 millimeters per hour, you have 1 meter rainfall in 1 hour, or even more, whatever. Yeah. So, do I spend the money for nothing is what the customers are asking. I said, no, because you anticipated. First, you don't spend so much money for flood barriers. You do not need to invest. You just invest in the study first. And the smallest study you can get is a technical inspection. For a factory, we call it engineering assessment. That is a little bit more. And then there are some other stages depending on the quality and quantity and difficulty of projects. And with such a technical inspection, you will know what to do and what to install and what is not the right solution for you. And it is better to invest first in the planning, and that is what you do with your architect instead of going to the procurement. Or would you order a house from a contractor without any plan? I mean, nobody would do that. Why would you consider it when it comes to flood protection? Once again, flood protection is not a supply. Flood protection is an art. It requires architects. It requires senior architects, it requires engineers, it requires senior engineers, because it is about the safety. It's not about the beauty. When it comes to the construction of a garage, you can do that on your own if you know how to construct the roof and the stability in these things. An open garage, for instance. But even then, you need to follow requirements. But when it comes to flood protection and that the flood barriers really work at the end of the day, then that makes a difference. Yeah, that is what I wanted to share with you. This is a waste of money. Now you can decide on your own, is it a waste of money or is it not a waste of money? I told you about the surprises you will get if you don't follow an inspection. And with a prior inspection, you have no delays, no extra cost, and an early installation, and you know exactly the budget for the barriers, including the civil works. If not, things are missing, and that gives always a chance for a supplier to increase the price, and you cannot escape anymore. And that is what we don't want, that I don't want, and that is against my German engineering education and nature. We want to treat our customers as serious partners. We don't want to cheat you. That is up to the fly-by-night companies. That is not what we are doing. The technology goes back to 1990, so 35 years. And one last sentence perhaps. Nothing is worse than flood barriers that are not well installed and are not functional when you need them most in case of heavy rain and flooding all around your area. If you want to know more about it, please contact me directly. If this flood protection episode has inspired you to rethink your approach to flood protection, stay tuned for more episodes like this. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights from the world of flood protection. For personal guidance, reach out to us or to me. My name is Andreas Klippe. Stay safe and flood free. I wish and hope for you that you make the right decisions when it comes to your personal flood protection. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast channel if you haven't already. Now it only remains for me to wish you a good day. Do something with it. Maybe until the next podcast episode. I would be very happy. See you then. As always, stay safe and flood free. Your Andreas Klippe and the whole Flood Experts team.
That's it again with a new episode of Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe, German engineer, book author, and head of the Flood Experts. What can Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe protect for you? Anytime? Worldwide? Contact us or just click through to www.floodexperts.de/bonus. Detailed engineering, German quality, safe. Flood protection secrets. The secrets you'll want to unfold.
Don't forget, you're only one flood barrier away.
Subscribe to the season, and you'll never be late for an episode.